Hey, this is Jared from thereligionteacher.com. What are the 7 deadly sins and what do they mean? Well, first of all, the 7 deadly sins, which come from Pope St. Gregory the Great, who based this list on some other previous monks and saints who were writing about sin and offenses against God, they might be better described as vices. And a vice compared to a virtue. A virtue is a balance between excessiveness on either too much or too little of something. And a virtue is just right. A vice is too much of something. So all of the 7 deadly sins describe vices and a desire for too much of something or a possession of too much of something. So let's look at each one of the 7 deadly sins and see what is that excessiveness that we are talking about. For pride, which is like the worst of all of the 7 deadly sins, that all the rest kind of follow under that. Pride is too much confidence. It's sometimes described as hubris, meaning that our confidence, our selfishness is so great that it leads to destruction, leads to suffering. So pride is about too much confidence in ourselves, too much dependence upon ourselves. How about greed? Greed, of course, is too much money. That we want too much money, excessive amounts of money that we don't actually need. Greed is greater than the need. How about envy? When we envy someone, we want what they have, either possessions or skills or characteristics. We envy them. So what is it? It's too much admiration. It's okay to admire someone. It's okay to respect someone. But if you want what they have, if there's too much admiration, so much so that you envy them and want that for yourself, that is the sin of envy, the vice of envy. Anger. When we're really angry, or wrath, when we experience wrath, we really want to punish someone. We want them to suffer. We want to take out our aggression on them for something that was done, some wrong that was done. So anger is too much suffering, or too much punishment, or really revenge is what anger is all about. You want to take out your frustration, your anger, your wrath on someone else so that they can suffer like you have suffered. So too much suffering. Lust. What is lust? Lust is desiring someone else for yourself, physically. So lust is too much attraction. You can be attracted to another person, you can see beauty in another person, but if you see that beauty so much that you want it for yourself, to use a person as an object, that becomes lust, that becomes sin. Gluttony, of course, is too much eating or too much consumption. So really, mostly it applies to food or eating, wanting to eat more food than we need, but it could also be consuming other resources as well. The point is, gluttony is wanting too much to consume for ourselves. And this last one, it gets a little confusing because we think of sloth, we think of slow, but another word for it is acedia, which essentially refers to not so much too much of something, but not enough care. So when we have the sin or vice of sloth, we are not interested or we're not caring enough to take action. So that's why it's not enough as opposed to too much. So I hope you can see that these 7 deadly sins aren't just bad actions. They describe an over desire, right? Wanting of too much of something. And because of that, it causes us to take actions which are not okay. And that's where the sin comes in. So they're vices as opposed to the virtue, which would be just enough of these things in our lives. Go make disciples. God bless.